Hi fellow bibliophiles, and welcome back to Blatantly Bookish. So today I thought I would answer some of your questions. I posted a video last month about my 3rd year anniversary on Booktube. I've been doing this for 3 years, and I thought in honor of that I would do a Q&A and answer any of your questions that you might have. So I got some good responses, and I have them here on my phone, so I will read through them and answer them. This will be a pretty informal, chatty video. I have no script whatsoever, just the questions, and I also figured I would combine it with a paper crane conversations video where I'll just chat with you about what's been going on in my life lately, why there aren't so many videos posted at the moment, and yeah, so let's get into it. Alright, so the first question is from Madeline from Made with Books. How and why did you choose your channel name? So I chose my channel name Blatantly Bookish because first of all, I love alliteration. So anything that I was going to do was going to have alliteration in the channel title. It was just a must for me. But I chose Blatantly Bookish because I was in dental school and I felt like the creativity was just being beat out of me, and a lot of different aspects of my life were being squelched and suppressed. And so at the heart of that, I was still blatantly and unapologetically bookish at heart, and I started this channel to be blatantly bookish and as an escape from the other aspects of my life that didn't encourage bookish thought and discussion. So yes, okay. Petra from Petra U asks, if you could choose 3 Victorian books everyone should read, which should they be? Wow, okay, so 3 Victorian books that everyone should read. So are we choosing them because I love them, or are we choosing them because I think that they embody the best of Victorian literature? Because those two things are actually very different. I would say the first one would have to be Our Mutual Friend by Dickens, because I think it does both of those things. I think it is quite emblematic of Victorian literature as a whole and incorporates a lot of the themes and kinds of quintessential Victorian literature staples in it. But also it's immensely enjoyable. I absolutely love it. So I would have to say Our Mutual Friend by Charles Dickens. I would also say Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte. And I'm not sure if I'm picking that one just because I love it so much. I probably am. I think that there are probably other books out there that embody the Victorian era better? No, Jane Eyre also does that, I think, in some ways. We'll just say Jane Eyre and move on to the next one. The next one would be Wives and Daughters, and it's just because it is such a favorite of mine, and I would hope everyone else would enjoy it as well. So yes. Allison Rose writes, what books do you feel have changed you in some way as a person, that had an effect and impact on you that has lasted to this day? Wow, that's quite a loaded question. I feel like many books that I've read, really any books that sometimes I'll go back and think about, which frankly are a lot of them, have had that kind of impact on me. A lot of the books I would point to are definitely books from my childhood. Shiloh, The Giver, The Boxcar Children, Harold and the Purple Crayon, All of a Kind Family, lots of books like that. And then there are other books, Flowers for Algernon, probably all of the earlier Victorian books I read, Jane Eyre, Wuthering Heights. There are just so many. I really truly feel like every book that I read has impacted me in some way, shape, or form, even if it's subconsciously. So, yeah, maybe not the answer you were hoping for, but an answer nonetheless. I also have from Allison Rose, and a non-bookish silly one. If you could spend one day as any animal, general, not a specific animal like a pet, which would it be? Probably a cat. I know that is a pet, but I think it would be fun to be a cat and to see things from a different vantage point. To be able to jump like that. Have you ever seen a cat jump from like on the floor all the way up on top of the fridge? It must just be amazing to be able to do that. And their sense of smell and taste is just so heightened in comparison to ours. Their hearing as well. I think it would be fun to be a cat, at least for a little bit. I'd probably want to be human again soon. Cats don't really read. but they do cuddle with people while they read. So maybe they secretly read over people's shoulders. And from Michael Chen, what is the worst or weirdest damage you've ever done to a book? One time, while on a summer vacation with my family, I left a book, my copy of The Great Hunt, Book 2 of the Wheel of Time series, in a super hot car for several hours, and it just destroyed the binding and thus the book. Oh, and once I dropped a book in the bathtub. It was a library book. I did my best to dry it and then returned it. Yikes. Yeah, I've never really damaged a book quite like that before. Recently, I spilled a little tea on the front cover of a library book, but it's a library book for a reason. It wiped right off and the book was not damaged at all. I do have some books that are kind of damaged because they were sent to me through the mail, and so their covers are a little warped. I dog-ear the pages in books, which some people consider damage, although I don't. I underline books, which some people also consider damage, but again, I don't, or I wouldn't have done it in the first place. So yeah, I don't think I've ever seriously destroyed a book. I guess you could count. One time I did find a really, really old book in a book sale, thrift store kind of thing, and I used it to create like a found poem, so I marked out most of the words. But I think that's repurposing, not just completely destroying. The Lawn Gnome asks, is there a certain genre of books that you haven't read yet that you are curious about giving a try? Not really. I feel like whether I read them on my channel regularly or not, I kind of have dabbled in all the different genres of literature in some way, shape, or form. There are certainly ones I like better than others, and I kind of know that at this point, so there are certain genres that you may never have seen me read on my channel, but I promise at some point in my life I have read at least one book that is considered to be part of that genre. Megan Hannett asks, who is an author that you have always loved but have come to love even more because of Booktube? For me, that would be Jane Austen, actually. I always loved Jane Austen ever since I started reading her, but with the advent of Katie and I doing Jane Austen July, I have come to love her even more. And kind of related to this question, I have gained such an appreciation for Elizabeth Gaskell and her works from Booktube. I had never actually read her works before starting my Booktube channel, but I had heard a ton about her, so it's kind of similar. I don't know, but I just wanted to throw that in there in relation to that question. Claudia from Spinster's Library asks, what's a book that you ended up loving that you wouldn't have picked up if not for Booktube? That one, I think I'm going to save as a video idea, actually. Thank you, Claudia. I feel like the past few years, my reading has been incredibly informed by other booktubers. Most notably Katie from Books and Things, because I absolutely love her taste in literature. So I think if I went through the books that I've read in the past 2 years, there would just be so many that were inspired by other booktubers, and so perhaps I should make a whole video on that subject. Things and Books, not to be confused with Books and Things, who I was just talking about, asks, number 1, what is the most interesting nonfiction book you have ever read? Ooh, that's a tough one. I've been reading a lot more nonfiction since starting Booktube, and my personal favorite nonfiction book that I thought was the most interesting is kind of a tie between John Mullen's What Matters in Jane Austen, which is all about Jane Austen, and it just really dissects these themes of Jane Austen's works, things that you might not notice that matter, but they do matter, things like the weather, things like blushing, things like age. It's just absolutely fascinating, a great literary analysis of Jane Austen and her works, but it's only fascinating because I find that topic fascinating. I don't think everyone else would find it as fascinating as I do, and I wouldn't even recommend it to somebody who doesn't like Jane Austen or who hasn't read most, if not all, of her works. In fact, I actually need to reread it because I read Sanditon and the Watsons, which are mentioned in there at some points, and I feel like because of that I want to reread the book and that I would get even more out of it now. And then I think that one's also tied with Unmentionables by Teresa O'Neill. That is just the most engaging piece of nonfiction I've ever read. Of course, I love the subject matter of the Victorians, and I particularly like the seedy underbelly of the Victorian era, things that they wouldn't really talk about that are kind of hidden within Victorian literature, how their garments, female undergarments, didn't have a crotch. I mean, that's just so strange to think about, that they were all, you know, we conceive of them as all prim and proper, and yet their genitals had like a direct line of sight with the ground. So yeah, things like that. That's not discussed in Victorian literature so much. And Teresa O'Neill just has the most magical way of portraying this information and conveying this. And it gives you a new insight and appreciation for the Victorian era, I think, at least. So I highly recommend that one. But again, I think it's so interesting because I find the time period so interesting. So I don't know. So the second question by Things in Books: if you could make one book compulsory reading for everyone, what would it be? So this is a hard question in the sense that everyone is not just book lovers. So I'm not just going to pick something that I think is literarily great. I think it should be something that everyone could relate to, that everyone could gain something from if they read it. And it would have to be approachable, probably rather short and accessible to people who don't read very often. With all these questions with like compulsory reading, I don't just want to impose my bookish taste on other people. It's got to be a book that would truly resonate with everyone and would make everyone a better person if they read it. So oddly enough, I actually just finished a book like that, and that is A Walk in the Woods by Dr. Joseph Parent. Now, this book is all about Winnie the Pooh and mindfulness. It features a lot of excerpts from Winnie the Pooh, little poems and behaviors, and it just analyzes how Pooh interacts with the world around him, how he doesn't let things bother him, and how he truly understands his friends, relates to his friends in the 100-Acre Wood, and how he just opens himself up to people and opens himself up to curiosity and exploring the world around him. And I think everyone, including myself, could be a little more like Pooh. You know, for the most part, Pooh is just constantly thinking about others and his friends, and therefore making himself a better person. I think it's a really easily readable book, very accessible for everyone, even children, and I think it can teach people how to be better to each other, how to be more considerate. So anyway, I absolutely loved this book, and I really do think everyone could benefit from reading it. So that's what I'm going to go with for now. Mikaro84 asks, do you have favorite book editions of which you would like to collect all of them? A lot of my books are pretty mismatched. You're actually looking at the shelf here of books that are fairly evenly matched. I actually have my collection of Jane Austen books. It's these Index Penguin Red Classic books that I have actually collected all of them and really enjoy. 2 are missing right now because I took them out for something else today, and they are on my floor somewhere. I have some Black Penguin Classics, which I mostly like because they are good editions of classics. Yeah. In terms of other books, I'm usually not very picky as to which edition I have of a book. I think the only other book series that I'm interested in collecting at this point is the Harry Potter books, the illustrated versions, because they are just drop-dead gorgeous. I have numbers 2 and 3 right now. I think 3, right? Yeah, 2 and 3. I don't have 1 because I don't know why. And number 4 hasn't come out yet. But I absolutely love those editions. I think the illustrations are gorgeous, and I would like to collect them all as they come out. Beautifully Bookish Bethany writes, what is a book you loved but didn't expect to enjoy? So I actually have an answer for this one, but usually I wouldn't. I usually don't pick up books that I don't expect to enjoy. No one's forcing me to read things anymore. I'm not in school. There's no curriculum. I read whatever I feel like reading, and I only feel like reading books I think I'm going to immensely enjoy. But recently, this the end of August, I actually read Treasure Island by Robert Louis Stevenson on audiobook. I ran out of credits on Audible and did not want to buy more, and I looked at the free selections, and Treasure Island by Robert Louis Stevenson was there, so I figured, why not? I'm just going to play it on my way to work this one day, and if I don't like it, I won't listen to it anymore. But I loved it. It is an amazing adventure story. It gives us most of the connotations we have about pirates in the present day. I think it's absolutely fascinating, and it is a work of Victorian literature, which I don't even know if I realized when I picked it up. But with Victober coming up soon, it's definitely a book to think about and to check out. So I absolutely adored that one. I can't really think of any others because, like I said, I don't usually pick up books I think I'm not going to like. If I think I'm not going to like it, I won't read it. But yeah. Oh, that's it. Okay, so I have answered all of your questions, and I'll just talk for a little bit more about what's been going on with me lately. You can see I have this sweatshirt. It says Wifey for Lifey. My aunt got it for me. It is incredibly hokey, and I don't wear it out of the house. But it was given to me because I got married this past weekend. September 7th. I think I'm going to be posting this video a little later, so I don't think that it'll be exactly a week ago when I post this video. But yes, I got married. It was very exciting. I had a wonderful time. I posted some pictures on Instagram, so you can check my Instagram if you want to see some gorgeous pictures, and those were just the amateur ones. I think that the professional ones are going to be even more beautiful. But yes, that's what I've been up to lately. That is why August was a very quiet reading month for me. I was busy planning last-minute things for the wedding, and yes, we didn't go on an official honeymoon exactly because in a week we are moving. Yes, so there's a lot going on with me lately, getting married, moving. There's been a lot of instability with my job right now. We lost our front desk person and had to hire a new one, and it's hasn't been easy with the new one, and yes, and then our assistant suddenly disappeared. So it's been a little stressful at work. We're moving, and I got married. A lot of life milestones all in one, and unfortunately my reading life has suffered greatly. I wish it hadn't. I wish that I still had the same amount of time to read, to film, to watch Booktube. I feel like I haven't watched your videos in the longest time. I try to keep up with certain channels, but I can't. I have one channel that she comments on a lot of my videos. She commented on this past video, and I've been meaning to binge watch her videos because I love her comments that she leaves me, but I haven't had the chance. It's been crazy for me. So hopefully after we move, things will settle down and I'll have more time for my passions, for you, for reading, and be able to invest more in this channel. But thank you guys for supporting this channel, for asking these questions. It's really interesting. A lot of people, when they do Q&As, they get a lot of different questions about a lot of different things. All of my questions were all book related, which is kind of fun because then I don't have to do that thing that some people do where they separate their video into a few different Q&As about their personal life and about their reading life and so on and so forth. So yes, thank you guys again for being excellent subscribers, and as always, I look forward to seeing you in another video soon. Bye!